What a beautiful day. Autumn. Glorious. All right. Let's step inside the potting shed herbarium today and see what's going on. We've got quite a windy day today. Take two. Greetings from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry, and we are inside the potting shed, drying shed, herbarium. I use it for a lot of different things. Seed collection, seed separating. It's kind of dark in here. I don't like to come in here much in the summer because it's so hot. But in the autumn and in the winter, it's very comfortable. This is a very unique collection. I don't think too many people would have a collection like this. This is a Luxe clock face collection. And I got these from a clock repair person. Apparently he was going to put them all back together again. They were little cuckoo clocks from the 1920s, and they were kind of like a novelty clock. I've shown these before. I have two of them that are actually working in the greenhouse, but these are just the clock faces, and they're all so unique and different. Let me show them to you. They're really quite beautiful. Just look at all the different designs on these really cute little clock faces. Now these clocks, as I mentioned in a previous video, would only run for about 6 hours, and because they were very inexpensive little novelty cuckoo clocks, so they're just miniature cuckoo clocks is what they are. But you can see how beautiful the little faces were. And these ones were made of some sort of something before resin. It was some kind of a pre-resin material, almost like a pressed hard cardboard. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I never knew. I got them with the intention of maybe putting clocks together sometime. In the meantime, they're just hanging on the wall in here. But what I really wanted to show you today is what I mentioned in my last video about the birthday present that I got, something that I had wanted for a very, very long time. I was waiting for it to arrive because it had to come from Switzerland. And that's because the object that I wanted is something that was very, very European for a long time before these came to America. You may wonder what on earth it is, and you may have never seen one of these before because they are obsolete, pretty much obsolete now. This is the object, and this is called a vasculum. A vasculum, or botany box, is a metal box, long, slender, sometimes oblong, sometimes round, I think once in a while they may have been more rectangular, but generally they were rounded like this one, with an opening in which the field person, the naturalist, the entomologist, the nature lover would go about the woods and the meadows collecting specimens. And they would put them inside the vasculum. This one's highly lithographed, which is very desirable. It's highly lithographed, and they came in lots of different sizes. These came about in the 1700s, actually, and were very popular for about 200 years. In France, Germany, Belgium, of course, Switzerland. So the scientist, the naturalist, the botanist, the entomologist would start out with an empty box, which is sometimes doubled as a lunch box, so you could put a sandwich or some lunch or a piece of fruit in here. You get into the woods or you get out into the field, you sit down on a log, open up, eat your sandwich, and then you have an empty box in which to fill with all your specimens. I think this is a pretty good size and a normal size vasculum box, but some of them were extremely large, such as the one this gentleman is carrying in this illustration. Oftentimes there would be bits of paper so that they could separate their specimens from one another. Let's see here. These were also made for children. Now, I think this one is absolutely stunning because this one is so wonderfully covered with graphics, which I'm going to show you in a minute. What's really special about this is it has its original latch being held by a little stick. Now, I don't know if that's original, but it's also got its original leather strap, which is in really good condition. These boxes often appeared in paintings, and I'm going to show you a couple paintings which you can see the vasculum, but I want you to take a look at the beauty of this one here in a minute. You can see the beautiful graphics on this one, and they would be battered, of course, pretty much battered because they were out in the field, and so they've got dings. It's pretty natural and normal for them to be a little bit scratched up, but this one is in excellent shape, even though it does have a few dings here and there. The images are still so clear. Here you can see the hunter, the deer, the hunting dogs, and back in the background you can see a castle. And here we are in the woods. But there are also wonderful graphics on this box. Butterflies, bees, dragonflies, thistle. Let me turn it around and show you the other side, which is fabulous. Here you can see a wonderful graphic here. And on this side, I don't want to bang this around any more than it has to be. But look at this. We've got beetles and honeybees and dragonflies and butterflies and all sorts of plants. I don't know if there's ferns, moths. It's really in good shape. The only bad part is this reddish part, which I think I don't know if somebody tried to repair it. Looks like somebody tried to repair this with some kind of paint of some sort. But it's really excellent. I think this box is probably from the late 1800s or the early 1900s. Now, they fell out of favor around 1950s because people stopped using them and started collecting their specimens in plastic bags. But so these are not all that common, and they're not all that easy to find, to be honest with you. I don't think I have ever seen one in all my years of antiquing in antique stores. I've never seen one. I had to find this one online, and it came from Switzerland, as I mentioned before. These were really very much a European thing for a very long time, and the first country to introduce the decorated boxes, such as this one, was Germany. In fact, it was Germany that created the boxes for the children. So the very much smaller box for a child could have been anywhere from 5 inches to 8 inches long. And that's where the beautiful boxes came from. Many of them had fantastically wonderful lithographs on them, like this one. And some were a little more plain, and they only had a bit of artistic decorating on the front piece right here. But interestingly enough, in the United States and in Britain, they did not decorate the boxes. They were just, sorry Stella, they were just plain boxes. So I'm really happy to get one that's decorated, because if it wasn't, I don't know that I would really particularly be that interested in it. It's the artwork on it and the history of it that I love. Now, although the Vasculum was a commonplace box among botanists and naturalists, some were very much strangers to it, and they considered it a strange and worrying box. French and Belgian botanists were accused of smuggling in their boxes. British plant lovers were accused of trafficking fake jewelry, and a Belgian student was suspected of hiding stolen potatoes in his box. So these were people that were not familiar with the Vasculum, that were suspicious of this strange box. And as I said, many of the professionals that were out there doing it for botany and scientific reasons, their boxes were probably twice as big as this one. So yeah, you could probably get quite a few stolen potatoes in a box like that, but that is not what they were being used for. Now, on the other hand, Vasculums were often mentioned in literature and seen in many old paintings. For example, Jules Verne mentioned the Vasculum in a book in 1898. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle made mention of Vasculum. Oops. In The Hound of the Baskervilles in 1902, and Virginia Woolf made mention of a Vasculum in her novel Mrs. Dalloway in 1925. Vasculums also appeared in many paintings in the 18th and 19th century. So once you've collected all the specimens that you've got, what can you do with them? What could you do with them? Well, you could add them to your natural collection of insects or interesting flora and fauna. You could press the leaves and put them in a journal as a herbarium page, or simply dry them. The nature lover had a nice collection of specimens. They would generally take them in and press them either in a flower press or press them in between the pages of her book to create a herbarium. Herbarium is simply a collection of plants which have been marked accordingly, such as this. This was last year that I put these in here, so I'm not even sure what these look like. So let's find out. Okay. See what's in here. Aha! Good. We've got something. Okay, these are looking good. These are ready to be pressed or placed into the notebook. Or, hi Stella. Or you can also do everlasting pictures. You know, look how flat that rose is. Amazing. That was a miniature rose. And then a few more things here. Here we've got a couple nice little items. So we've got some little weeds. Once your flowers are nicely pressed, you can arrange them on a page in your herbarium book. Flower presses are really pretty easy to find, but they're also very, very simple to make. And they come in lots of different sizes. And some are great for kids. Now, I was pretty excited when I found this antique flower press. And for a little while I thought maybe this wasn't a flower press, maybe it was a tie press. But it goes up so high But you can get so many layers of flowers in here. As you can see, I don't think that's a tie press, because you could get several layers of long-stemmed flowers in here. So this is a pretty neat one. What's up, kitties? What are all my kitties doing here? What are all the kitties doing here? It's best to collect your flowers probably in the afternoon when things are nice and dry. You don't want them to be moist like in the morning. You don't want the dew on the flowers because they will retain the moisture while they're in the press, and you'll end up with moldy flowers. That happened in one of my flower presses. Everything was still damp after an entire year. So I probably collected them improperly. So I'm just to do these celotias and these lovely blue salvia. There. I don't really want them to touch in any significant way, because I'll be able to arrange them later on. Then put another layer of blotting paper on top, along with the cardboard. And then you're going to press it just as tightly as you can. Just really buckle down on these screws right here. This is a lovely book called A Victorian Flower Album by Henry Terry. And it's not really a pressed flower book. It's more like a herbarium, pages of herbarium. However, all the plants were painted with watercolor, listed by their scientific names and their common names by the artist naturalist, whose name was Henry Terry. I believe you can still find this book. Oops. You can still find this book used wherever you can find some nice old vintage books online. Or in a thrift store, perhaps. Okay. I'm often experimenting on the best ways to dry flowers to keep their color, and I've sort of stumbled upon this. This is simply a metal shelf that I have in here, and if I put the stems right through those little openings right there, minus all the leaves, don't want any leaves and you don't want the flowers touching, I found that these really kept their color. It's very dark down here, and it's cool. Not too much humidity is going on in this room, and I found that these ones are from last year. Now, they don't keep that real vibrant color, but they really do keep a lot of the shade. I think those were dark pink or purple dahlias. Yep. Another thing that seems to work really well to keep the color, and these would be used for decoration for potpourri. These are just the flower heads. I've cut off the stems, and I'm going to place them face down on a woven tray here. And these also keep their color really well. If you don't need the stems, because these, like I said, I would be using to decorate potpourri with. Whereas the longer ones that I'm drawing on the metal shelf, these would be used for making flower arrangements, dried flower arrangements, and wreaths over the winter. But these really keep their color pretty well also. Now, I don't know what's best is to leave them face up, so I try both ways, face up or face down. This is a new one I tried this year, and this is just a safflower. What I really love about it, and I only planted up very few plants, so I don't have much to show for it, but I didn't know quite when to pick them. So I started picking them at different times, and I noticed they really keep their color, and that's the whole point of everlastings. You want them to keep their color. These are completely dried out, and I put them here a couple weeks ago, and they're still pretty vibrant. These ones are completely dried out. They looking great. And these, I just let them go to seed so that I can plant them again next year, because I really am excited about this everlasting. So I'm going to have to try a few more of those. Here we've taken advantage of these old tins. Yeah, I've taken advantage of these old tins to plant the rest of what's left in the garden. And what we've got are, we've still got a lot of dahlias, we've got zinnias, we've got this beautiful blue salvia, more dahlias. This is the Georgia sunflower, which is a perennial sunflower. A lot of red, vibrant zinnias in lipstick red and also a very orangey red. One little hydrangea, more zinnias, and basil. So thank goodness for zinnias, because they really, really keep things going. Well, I hope this has been an informative video for you today, and I hope I introduced you to something that you had never heard of before. But if you have, and if you own a vasculum, let us know. We'd like to know all about where you got it, and what it looks like, and how old it is. So from Hopalong Hollow, this is Jerry, and we will see you next time when we're going to talk about frogs. Bye-bye.